أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening for our regular Wednesday gathering in Whitechapel. Alhamdulillah, Sacred Compass. The purpose of these gatherings is to take some time out of our busy schedule and, inshallah, dedicate some time seeking the closeness of Allah Azza wa Jal. So today, the structure of today's gathering, or the schedule if you like, we'll begin with a nasiha from Shaykh Mahmood, and inshallah there will be a short Q&A section afterwards. There'll be an allocation for a short Q&A, so you'll have a chance to ask your questions. And then straight after that, we'll go into Maghrib, because today Maghrib is at 8:25. We'll do a Jamaat here, and then inshallah we will do the dhikr after Maghrib. A collective dhikr, and inshallah, we will introduce the dhikr properly for anyone that's new. But we will share a PDF in the group for your information as well. And I'm just going to go through some of the mindsets that one should have when attending a gathering like this. So the first mindset should be that rectify your attention. Remind yourself, why is it you're here today? And inshallah, is to gain that closeness to Allah. Secondly, the Mashaykh mentioned you should attend these gatherings with an open heart and an open mind. And the word they use is an open cup, meaning when water is poured into an empty cup, then the cup benefits by filling up. But if you're full of water, full of your own information and knowledge, and then you don't benefit, right? So inshallah, maybe benefit from this gathering. And finally, imagine that when Shaykh Muhammad is speaking to you, it's a direct one-to-one conversation. The advice that he gives is as if he's giving the advice directly to yourself, and this way we can maximize benefit rather than thinking, so and so should hear this. We apply it to ourselves directly, inshallah. And at the end of after the dhikr and the end of the session, there will be some time, inshallah, to socialize and free course of purification. So you will have a chance to sit down with our honorable ustads and sheikhs, and we can go through how this course works, inshallah. So without further ado, we're going to start this gathering with a short qiraat of the Quran from Brother Umar, and this is just so we can get into the mindset. Inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هنالك دعا زكريا ربه قال رب هب لي من لدنك ذرية طيبة إنك سميع الدعاء فنادته الملائكة وهو قائم يصلي في المحراب أن الله يبشرك بيحيى مصدقا بكلمة من الله وسيدا وحسورا ونبيا من الصالحين قال رب أن يكون لي غلام وقد بلغني الكبر وامرأتي عاقر قال كذلك الله يخلق ما يشاء قال رب اجعل لي آية قال آيتك ألا تكلم الناس 3 أيام إلا رمزا واذكر ربك كثيرا وسبح بالعشي والإبكار صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah khair, Umar. before we go on to the next section, can I just quickly request the brothers to come a bit closer to the speaker? And also for the brothers that are sat in the passageway, there will still be people coming, especially sisters have to cross this path. So if you cannot block that path, if you want to sit in a chair, maybe move it around the side or come here close to the center, inshallah. And for everyone, please make your way down. And same on the sister side, if you can come closer to the Shaykh, maybe you can benefit. Inshallah. Next, we're going to play a quick naat, and the same purpose to, inshallah, get us into the mindset before the discourse by Shaykh Mahmood.
صلاة سلام على المصطفى رسول إمام بنور الصفا صلاة سلام على المصطفى رسول إمام بنور الصفا حبيب الإله أنار الحياة وقلبي يراك كمثل القمر بمدح الرسول يزيد الأمل ويأتي القبول بخير عمل صلاة سلام على المصطفى رسول الإمام بنور الصفا مرتدي رسول أحمد مصطفى وبس ونك نشري نور واتجاه نبي طبيب أنا القمر في طه الحبيب كمثل القمر أريد الشراب وخير الثواب فيوم الحساب به أفتخر صلاة سلام على المصطفى رسول الإمام بنور الصفا.
يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. يا ربنا لك الحمد حتى ترضى، ولك الحمد إذا رضيت، ولك الحمد بعد الرضا. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. يا رب العالمين، يا أرحم الراحمين، يا أكرم الأكرمين. يا رب العالمين, we've come here this evening, يا رب العالمين, see you, يا رب العالمين, and no one but you, يا رب العالمين. يا رب العالمين, expand our chests and allow the light of your guidance, يا رب العالمين, to enter our hearts, يا رب العالمين. Guide us, يا رب العالمين, to your pleasure and the pleasure of your Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya Rabb al-Alameen, any of us who have come today with any ulterior motive, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, for anything other than you, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, correct their intentions now, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, in order for them and for all of us to benefit, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. And those who have come with the purest and most sincere intention, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, elevate our reward to match theirs, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. Ya Rabb al-Alameen, benefit us, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, from these words. The first person who should benefit is the one who is uttering them, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, and allow everyone, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, to benefit too, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, in order for our lives to change and for the better, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, to reach your pleasure and to reach your closeness and proximity, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. Salli Allahumma wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslima. محمد رسول الله والذين معه أشداء على الكفار رحماء بينهم تراهم ركعا سجدا يبتغون فضلا من الله ورضوانا سيماهم في وجوههم من أثر السجود ذلك مثلهم في التوراة ومثلهم في الإنجيل. صدق الله العظيم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا محمد النبي الأمي الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم يا عليم يا عليم يا عليم يا حكيم يا حكيم يا حكيم يا رشيد يا رشيد يا رشيد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. And welcome all to our weekly gathering. As you all know, we are still in the month of Muharram, or the end really of the month of Muharram, the 27th. And the month of Muharram marks the start of the new Islamic year. Now, at the start of any new year, or normally at the end of any year, there is a form of assessment. And so, the end of an academic year, there are exams. Some people are waiting for their A-level results tomorrow to assess how they did over the last year. And next week, students uh, will be awaiting their GCSE results, again to assess how they did over the last year. At the end of the fiscal year, there are assessments. The government as well has a year. So, for example, Parliament is not in session now. So, what does a government do? A government has to assess, look through its budget, has to look at its performance, its spending, etc. And so too should the believer. So too should the believer hold themselves or assess themselves at the end of the year and at the start of the year to assess themselves, to hold themselves accountable. The believer should ask themselves, what have I achieved? How has my performance been? Not just financially, but how has my performance been at home with my spouse? How has my performance been with my children, with my parents, with my siblings? How has my performance been with my neighbors? How much have I developed over the last year? How much has my heart developed? My mind, soul, how much have they developed? And most importantly, how has my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala developed? Sayyiduna Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he would say, حاسبوا أنفسكم قبل أن تحاسبوا. Hold yourselves to account before you are held to account. Or hold yourself accountable before you are held accountable. Because when we are held accountable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it's too late. There's no time now to change. It's the last draft. Yes? There's no first draft, second draft, and this is up for review, that's up for review. No, it's the final draft. That's it. And we're graded on it. So the first thing one should do this month, although we are at the end of the month, but many people, the reality is that most Muslims don't even know what month it is in the Islamic year. Most Muslims don't even know that it's the start of the Islamic year. And so we should utilize this opportunity to assess ourselves, to assess our progress, financial, marital, social, what have, and societal, what have I contributed to the country in which I live? What have I contributed towards humanity? What planning and what service have I given to people? And not to just behave like an animal. Now, when we say behave like an animal, animals don't behave badly, but all they do is eat, drink, and reproduce. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not create us for that. And so one should assess their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Has it improved? Because we had Ramadan, we had Dhul Hijjah, there was Hajj as well. Yes? And the fasting of the day of Ashura, the day before it or a day after, as is the Sunnah. So if we didn't benefit from all of that, then we didn't achieve anything. And if we didn't achieve anything, imagine you went to school, okay? You went to school you attended school or college, university for the whole year. The whole year. You went to classes, but then you achieved nothing. What would you do then? You would sit with an academic advisor. That advisor would tell you, would listen to you and know where you went wrong and advise you on how to improve for the coming year. And so if we didn't benefit from Ramadan, we didn't benefit from Dhul Hijjah, We didn't benefit from Sha'ban before Ramadan and Rajab before Sha'ban. We didn't benefit from the entire year. Okay? We didn't achieve anything. So what should we be doing then in that case? We should consult somebody who did succeed. Somebody who is prolifically successful. Always successful. You see a person, obviously you exercise good opinion in people, and you see this person is always successful with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're always their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is only ever improving. And so you consult them. See, just as let's say you open up a business, you're never making a profit. You go to people who are successful. How is it that you're so profitable? Right? So you go and you consult. See how those people live. See how those salihin, see how those awliya, see how those mashaykh, how those guys, see how they live in order to benefit from them. Because the year has passed, we don't have that many years left. The lifespan or the lifespan of the average ummati, the average member of the ummah of Rasul 60 to 70 years, as Rasul said. And so scanning the room, most of us are halfway or not, if not even halfway past, more than halfway past. And that doesn't mean that we're actually going to do that. That's just the average lifespan. Most of it is gone. Most of it's gone in work. Most of it's gone in the bathroom. Most of it's gone eating, drinking, school, education. So how much time do we actually have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How much real time do we spend with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Now Muharram also marks the martyrdom of the second greatest human being to grace the planet after the prophets. And that is Sayyiduna Umar ibn Al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. The second Khalifa after the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And from his paradise, his life, his example, his lessons, and his life is quite unique, very unique. Because if any of you saw the title of today's talk, it's Sinner to Saint. Sinner to Saint. The life of Sayyidina Umar anhu is an example for everyone, regardless of where they stand with Allah. It's an example for disbelievers. It's an example for sinners, for pious people, for righteous people, for leaders, for all categories of people. Sayyidina Umar is an example for them, and they take lessons from his life, guidance from him, radiallahu anhu. Because at one point he was a disbeliever who dared to do what no other disbeliever dared to do, and that is plan and actually go ahead with the attempted assassination of the Prophet. Nobody in Quraysh even dared to do that. Or when it was mentioned, yeah, but what would we do when his family come after us? So what did Umar radiallahu anhu say? Yeah, I don't care. I'll kill him. And he made that decision to himself, by himself. He didn't consult anybody. Such was the strength of his character. At one point, he wanted to kill the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Fast forward 18 plus, so fast forward 35 years, and he's lying besides the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the earth until this point and until the day of judgment. A neighbor of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his grave, and the second highest wali of all time after Sayyidina Muhammad, of course. And so, such a person, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he possessed the qualities of prophethood. He said, لو كان نبيا بعدي لكان عمر. If there was a prophet after me, it would have been Umar. But the door of prophethood is closed. The door of prophethood is closed. But he possessed the qualities, the credentials that a prophet has. But the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam went and continued in the hadith in Bukhari, where he mentioned that, where the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, although prophethood has ended, there were people in the nations, before I'm paraphrasing, of course, there were people in the nations before us who were not prophets, who were muhaddathun, Allah used to speak to. When people say, oh, Allah, because, unless the person's a prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot inspire to that person anything, or that person cannot communicate with angels. This goes against the explicit hadith. This goes against the explicit hadith. Yes, revelation is over. So the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that there were people in the nations before us who were not prophets, but they were muhaddathun. And I hope that Umar is from them. Of course, when the Prophet says, I hope, this is just a rhetorical device in Arabic. It means he definitely is of them. And we know of the events in the life of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened up for him things that people, that no one but him could see at that time. And so, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Umar radiallahu anhu, in his life, he was a man not only of a strong character, but he was a man of wisdom, a man of foresight, an intelligent man, whose opinions, he was the second minister of the Prophet. So there was Sayyidina Abu Bakr, he's the first minister. The second minister is Sayyidina Umar. Now, in the Quran, around 15 places in the Quran in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala endorses the opinion of Umar radiallahu, meaning that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would do shura with the companions and ask everyone's opinion on a matter. And Sayyidina Umar's opinion, later on the revelation would confirm it, would endorse it, something that would amaze the Sahaba. So usually when we hear about the stories of the companions, we hear about their amazing feats. Umar radiallahu anhu, he says about himself, by the way, وَفَقْتُ رَبِّي فِي أَرْبَعٍ. And his, from his humility, he said, my opinion that it agreed, or it coincided with my Lord's opinion 4 times. But he's being modest because it was more than 4 times. It was more than, and the scholars, the ulama, have counted up to 15 occasions. Yes? So we normally hear about all the companions, we hear about their amazing feats. But what we don't hear about is how we can be like them. Now, obviously, we're never going to be companions, because that is something, that's a unique blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for one generation, and it will never be repeated. And it will never be repeated. But there are certain stations we can reach that match the companions. In fact, there are stations that we can reach that will surpass that of the companions. They surpass us overall, no doubt. Nobody comes near to the dust that comes from the hoof of a horse of a companion. Simple. But there are certain stations we can reach which not only match that of the companions, but can even surpass them. And so during one of the conquests, in the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, Sayyiduna Khalid radiallahu anhu was leading the Muslim army. And so a non-Muslim from the opposing side came over and he said, if I repent and become a Muslim, will I be like you? And Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu, he said to him, no, you won't be like us. In fact, you'll be better than us, because you will believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and you haven't seen him, whereas we saw him and we believe in him. So you will have a level you'll have a level in terms of the level of belief in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam without seeing him, which is higher than ours, which we saw, because we saw him. And so when we hear about companions, we don't know how. We just hear amazing stories, and then we look at ourselves and we say, yeah, but where am I from Umar radiallahu anhu? Where am I? Well, that's the point about his life, is that he is an example to every single person. Once upon a time, he was worshipping an idol. After that, he's one of the greatest human beings. And the most influential person in the world when he was the Khalifa. So anyone living a life of sin, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you're done for, that you're over. During the time of Jahiliyyah, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he was feared by the criminals of Mecca. The criminals and the hooligans and the gangsters, they would fear him. He would even go out of his way to put them in line. He would put them in line without himself being a gangster or anything like that, because he had moral. But even despite his morality, he still killed one of his daughters, as the Arabs used to do at that time. And some people object to this narration, saying it's not in line with his character. Well, he wanted to kill the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you're talking to me about in line with his character. And they don't have an objection to the chain of narration either. To reject it, they just say it's not in line with his character, and this is just, an accusation against him. But this is the point, that Sayyidina Umar went from that to who he then became. And so, why do we mention this? Because today, some people are drunkards, some people are drug dealers, some people are drug addicts, some people are porn addicts, some people are fraudsters, some people are murderers, and they think that they're damned, that they can never be good people. No. That's what the shaitan says. That's not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. That's not what Allah and His Messenger say. That's not the example of the companions either. Because Umar radiallahu anhu, he showed the whole of humanity after him that not only can you change, but you can actually become the best person in your era. So no matter what your state is, even if you are the worst person, and Sayyidina Umar would say, who are you, to himself when he would do muraqabah? Who are you, Umar? You were the worst person, and you still are. Look at you, you're the worst person among the companions. But he was really from the worst because he dared to do what no one else even dreamt of doing, which is to go and kill the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he went from the worst person to the best person. He went from, as we said, wanting to kill the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam to loving him to such an extent that not just did he love him during the Prophet ﷺ's life, but even after the Rasul ﷺ passed away, his love was so much, or to such an extent, that there was a companion by the name of Faris radiallahu anh, who was with the Prophet ﷺ at one point, and the Prophet ﷺ ate from a bowl. So he said, Ya Rasulullah, please may I have this bowl? So the Rasul never ever denied the request. So he gave him, never denied the request that was permissible, of course. And so he gave him the bowl. Now Sayyidina Umar, when he was Khalifa, he would go to Sayyidina Faris radiallahu anh and request the bowl of the bowl of the Prophet. He would put water in it, he would drink from it, and he would rub his face with it. So he went from hating the Prophet and wanting to kill him to seeking tabarruk, seeking blessing from any remnant and any personal effects of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would sit and he would reminisce with the mothers of the believers, or at least his daughter Hafsa radiallahu anha, okay, over the time and the life of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He wouldn't allow anybody to say, to use the words, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is dead. He would not allow somebody to use those words. Of course, he knew that the Prophet ﷺ had passed away, but he would not allow somebody to say those words out of respect for the Rasul ﷺ. So at one point, he hates Islam and he hates the Muslims, and then the next, he's the greatest helper and restorer of Islam, and spread Islam all over at his time, all over North Africa and Central Asia, and Islam began to spread into North Africa and Central Asia. But the greatest empires of the time, the Byzantines and the Persians, they collapsed at his hands. So what does this mean to us? What does this mean to us? Yes, we're all Muslim, but really, how many of us live practically as Muslims? Many of us, we live lives that are far from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are believers, most people are believers by name. but practically live a life of sin and not an Islamic life. But anyone can change. Now, and these qualities that were in Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh before Islam, he was probably considered, if let's say he hadn't accepted Islam, there were people who didn't accept Islam who had such qualities. And the worst person of all was Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl had the qualities that Umar radiallahu anh, that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would make dua, oh Allah, grant victory to Islam through one of the two Umars. Because Abu Jahl, his name was Amr, right? And and so he possessed great qualities. The thing is, we look at people who are apparently evil as though all their qualities are inherently evil, but they're not. They're not inherently evil. They are, in fact, all these qualities are, they're neutral. But they have been misdirected. And that's why our Shaykh, they say that, you know, the fiercest criminals, the fiercest gangsters actually make some of the best believers. Why? Because look at their quality. Let's look at, like, you know, these, you know, like the worst criminals, like the cartel members, right? From, you know, the drug cartels in South America. They have courage, they have bravery, they're grafters, they work hard, yeah, they're loyal to each other, right? They they have patience, so and they're smart at business as well, right? But all these qualities are misdirected. That's all. They're misdirected, and so they've been used in the way of the shaitan, and so the result has become evil. But if you use them in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's how Umar became Umar. That's how Khalid radiallahu anhu became Khalid. So your funny story about Umar, my son knows this story, and you know, and I hope he doesn't, you know, give the ending away. And this is a true story. When I was Imam back in Finsbury Park years ago, there's a young lady, very young, maybe like late teens or early 20s. What she would do, she'd walk up and down Seven Sisters Road and Holloway Road, and she would say, "Can I have a pound, please? Can I have a pound, please?" That's all she'd say. She, "Can I have a pound, please?" Right? And uh, and all day she would do this. She looks fine, her trainers are fine, her clothes are fine, she's in a good state. Okay. And when she'd make enough pounds, she'd go to KFC, she'd eat, and then she'd start again. Okay. So and you know, I'm from the area, worked in the area, you know, for years, so I know her and I know what she does. So one day I thought, let me try and, you know, like, let me try and say something that will benefit her. Okay, because, you know, charity is a good word as well. So so it was literally outside the mosque. I stood there, and then she said to me, "Come, pound, please." And I said to her, "You know, wallahi, I said to her, you know, you have such great qualities. You're so hardworking. You walk up and down Seven Sisters Road all day, and you're so tenacious, and you never give up. And if you use just a fraction of that energy in any job, you'd make more than you're making." She looked at me and she said, "Can I have a pound, please?" So, you know, the point is that she had these good qualities. Some beggars have amazing qualities, and they put in such hard work for such little in return. That if they put in just a fraction of that in a lawful job, a permissible job, they'd make an honorable living, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would love. So we said that yes, that these changes occurred, and Umar radiallahu anhu changed from being the worst to the best. How? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works through means. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works through means. So there are angels who bring out rizq. Does it mean Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can't bring us out rizq? There's an angel of death. Does it mean Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can't take us out? There's an angel who blows the ruh, the spirit, into the womb. Does it mean Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can't do that? There's an angel who brings revelation to the prophets. Does it mean Allah can't do that? Allah's sunnah, meaning Allah's way, that He works through means. And so Umar radiallahu anhu, what was the means for him to be nurtured into the giant of Islam that he became? The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now there are no more prophets now after the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And so that's why if a person wants to go from where they are to become the best, to become from the elite, then they need the coach, the mentor, the teacher, the guide, the shaykh. Yes? who will raise them from sinner to saint, as we've mentioned. Because that change didn't come from nowhere. It came from somewhere. It came from somewhere. And some people say, and recently our Shaykh Al-Khattab was asked a question, which is, why does anyone need a guide or a Shaykh or a teacher? There are so many people who accept Islam just by reading the Quran. So the Quran is enough for them. They can go to it and they for guidance. And so the answer was quite simple regarding the Quran here, as an example, is that the person has accepted Islam. That's like buying into the idea. You've bought into it. But now this idea has to be explained to you. Now the teachings need to be taught to you. You can't teach yourself. So for example, you buy into a product. So I'm going to go for Apple instead of Microsoft. Okay, instead of Windows. Okay, what do you know about Apple products? Nothing. I'm just going to self-teach myself. How many mistakes are you going to make before you become proficient? Let somebody teach you. Because everything in life, every skill, every profession, anything in life, any field of expertise, you need a teacher. Even to become evil, you need that. We spoke about drug cartels. Don't you think that they're mentor? Don't you think that they're coach? Don't you think that they shadow one of their elders, one of their superiors? And to become like Shaitan, you need to shadow Shaitan. You need to learn from you. So if you need a teacher and a guide and a sheikh of shar, a sheikh of evil, you need a sheikh of khair as well. So we move on to the next lesson, and it's really about the character of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu and some of the profound lessons that we can take from his life, in addition to him going from, uh, uh, going from, relatively speaking, the worst to the best. Yes, is how after this, after shadowing, after learning directly from the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that manifested. The fruits of all of that manifested. So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, while he was tall and imposing, he was in fact the most gentle and the most compassionate of the Sahaba. So much so that once when he was the Khalifa, he wanted to eat fish. Now Medina, which was the base of the Khilafah up until Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu moved it to Kufa, Medina is not far from the coast. So one of the helpers said to Sayyidina Umar, okay, I'll go get it. So he came back with the fish, but Sayyidina Umar said, where did you get this fish from? He said, I got it from the coast. But he said, no, you came back too quickly. And so he went to the camel and he put his hand on the camel's neck and body, and his hand was wet with sweat. So he realized that this helper of his had overly exerted this camel to take it at haste, at speed, and come back at speed. So he said, I won't eat this fish which you obtained by inconveniencing this animal. Now look then at us. Not only are we eating and consuming, or and in cases looting by inconveniencing people, but we're taking what is actually rightfully theirs. So once again, we hear these stories, amazing stories. But what compare them to us now? Not compare it to the leaders, these presidents, but we loot as well. We deny people their inheritance as well. We defraud people as well. It can be 1p, it can be 2p, it can be 2 million. But everybody, not everybody, but most people, yes, they're engaged in that too. Umar radiallahu anhu was an example in humility. I can see it from a distance, it says 5 minutes. So, was an example of humility. While he was Khalifa, first of all, Umar radiallahu anhu, he took away a salary from the Baytul Mal, from the treasury, which was the wage of a laborer. And it was the minimum wage, not even the most skilled laborer. No, he took the lowest end of the scale. And so sometimes he would work. but he wouldn't work out of need. He would go and work as a laborer in the bazaar, in the market. Now, the people say, why is he working in the bazaar, in the market? It's a low-level job as a laborer in the market, just to lift him from one point to another. This is like a demeaning job, a menial task. And Sayyidina Umar would say, no. This, because he hated arrogance. Because the reality is the people who say, I'm shy, I'm embarrassed today, work as cleaners, street sweepers, cleaners in hospital or in universities or in big office buildings, or do laboring, or do washing up in a kitchen, in a restaurant, or their cabbies or whatever. Those who feel ashamed and embarrassed, in fact, that is their arrogance. Because one should not be ashamed or embarrassed by earning a halal income through a job that's permissible. Rather, you should feel ashamed and embarrassed that you work a job where your income is haram, where you are engaged in haram. You should feel ashamed and embarrassed that you are a high-level fraudster, even if you're in a three-piece suit. But people look and say, oh, these sophisticated types. That is where a person should be ashamed and embarrassed. And so Umar radiallahu anhu, no, he would work these jobs. And why? Because that's the sunnah of all of the prophets, that they all worked, and they all worked as laborers at some, because what else is a shepherd? That's more than just laboring. That's with animals. And there are many benefits and lessons in that, which we don't have time, of course, to cover. And so during this blessed month of Muharram, before it's over, a day or two, we should go back to the life and the lesson, the life of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, to take wisdom and to take lessons, and from what he imparted so many wisdoms that he once said, don't judge anybody according to their prayer or their dhikr, or like what they wear, the clothes or the amama, the qamis. Don't judge people according to that, but judge them according to their dealings with you. Because the reality is that a person's worship is between them and Allah. What's it got to do with you? Nobody knows the reality of that relationship but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you know the reality of the relationship with you. You know the reality of the relationship with you. So that's why all they say, I gave my daughter to this guy. He seemed so religious. Why are you judging him on his religion? Judge him on his dealings. How is he with his family? How is he with his neighbors? How is he with his work colleagues? Then people come and cry afterwards. That wasn't to judge the person on. That's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the Mashiach say, don't ask somebody a question which only Allah asks them. Only Allah. Ask questions that concern you. Because when you marry somebody, he's not going to be dealing with Allah, he's dealing with you. Now, if he's a God-conscious person, yeah, he's conscious of Allah in how he's dealing with you. But the reality is, he's dealing with you directly. Yes? And so, Umar radiallahu anhu, famously, we know the story where a man came, he came to nominate a candidate or a constituency to become a governor. So Sayyidina Umar, and he praised him. So Sayyidina Umar, he said, have you traveled with him? Have you traveled with him? Have you done business with him? Have you lived next to him? Have you ever neighbored him? And so the man said, no. He said, go, you don't know the man. Because when you travel, the reality of a person comes out. You could be going Hajj. It's 2 or 3 weeks. Halfway through, half the people are falling out with each other. Husband and wife are arguing. The group leader and the customers are arguing and have fallen out. You could be in i'tikaf. And before Eid, the Imam is having to reconcile between the people. Yes? Why? Because they've traveled or they've lived together. So and then people say, we went on holiday and I saw a different side to him. He just was a different person. No, that's who he is. That's who she is. They were hiding it before, consciously. But a fish can't last long outside of water. So these people hide it consciously. They hide who they really are. They can do it for an hour or two, a day or two. But after that, no. Their reality has to come out. And when you do business with people, their reality comes better. And when you're in he was great, but then you fight and you argue over parking spaces and the bins and stuff, the pettiest things. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this great personality, Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, and whom we are Muslim and we benefit until today because of him. In fact, so many non-Muslims until today benefit from Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu without them knowing. The person who first instituted the benefit system, social service, social security. Yes, not for people to become lazy, because a group of young men became lazy during his time when their benefits were given out. So he asked them, "Why aren't you working?" And they said, "We are al-mutawakkilun. We are the reliant. We have trust in Allah." He said, "No, you're not. You have trust in people's money and what's in people's pockets. The true mutawakkilun, the true reliant, the truly trusting in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those who plant the seed and are reliant. Go and work." And he also hit them with the stick. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward him, radiallahu anhu, and all of the companions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, allow us to mirror them and their character, and that we benefit from their lives and their example. Alhamdulillah. We have time now, inshallah, before Maghrib to do Q&A. And after Maghrib, we'll pray Salat al-Sunnah, some brief adhkar, masnoon adhkar individually, and then we'll do a group dhikr, inshallah. So do we have any questions before Maghrib? This time is all for Q&A, so we can't really say we'll bring Maghrib in earlier, okay? Now. So ideally on the topic. If not, then something as closely related as possible to the topic. Now, are there any questions? Yes.
That's the thing, because when we say, for instance, looking for a staff or judging someone's character, we often go with, do they pray and do they like fast and do they make, but you kind of turn that one step to be like, okay, how do they speak people around? So just on that, what other ways can we kind of identify a good character?
Right. So when Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, he gave criteria for a suitable suitor, or suitable proposal. He said, "Man ja'akum tardawna dinahu wa khuluqahu fazawwiju." Whoever comes to you, you're pleased with his religious conduct and his character. So we don't, when we say we don't, that Sayyidina Umar taught us not to judge people based on their religion. We said judge, not to judge to say this is a good person in the sight of Allah, because that's not something that we know. But these are still criteria that we look for in people, because while we don't know the reality of their relationship with Allah, we still look to whether they at least have the overt relationship with Allah. But where we judge a person is based on the reality which we know, which is their relationship with us, with their neighbors, with their work colleagues, with their friends, with their family, because the reality of those relationships can be known. So it's not really turning it on its head to say that we don't have to look at those things. Of course, we do have to look at those things, but what do we know the reality of? We know the reality of the person's character. So the character is not a one-off. Character is something that somebody did over and over and over and over again and again, until they, uh, 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 to the extent that they do it involuntarily, without having to think. It's just part of who they are. So when we look at a person's religious conduct, okay, that's good. But does their character match their religious conduct? They pray, they fast, they do this, they do that. But what's their character? They lie. Well, that's no good. They cheat. That's no good. They are rude to people. They're impatient. Yes? So the character isn't good. So the character is how a person, is the currency that a person spends with other human beings. As for worship, that's between the person and Allah. And we can't assign credit to any worship. We don't know. That's only in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands. But we can attribute a certain credits to how people deal with one another. So say, yeah, he's good with his parents, he's good with his siblings, he's good with his neighbors, he's good with his pets. Some people are really mean to their pets. Okay? So, these are the things that we attach value to because we can attribute value to them, but we can't attribute value to worship. That's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's Allah's, preserve, and no one else's. So does that kind of make sense? And so when a person comes, we are to look at both of these things. But when people say, "Oh, I know so many people who aren't Muslim who are so much better than Muslims in their character," and okay, alhamdulillah, that's good. That's good. But they need to have, for that character to be of any benefit in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the person should have, have faith. But really the reason why people say that is because they don't want to do da'wah. Is because they uh, they don't want to do da'wah, but they have an inferiority complex. So they're shy to talk about Islam. They're shy to talk about their religion, even in an indirect way. It doesn't have to be a direct way. Da'wah is different with all different types of people, but they don't want to identify as Muslim. Whereas we live in a time of almost absolute freedom. People identify as gay, people identify as lesbian, and they fight for their rights, and they campaign and they lobby. But then a person who's too shy to dress in sunnah, or is too shy to wear, why? Because what will people say? So not only are we, what will people think? We're not only afraid, afraid of how people will react towards us. We're even afraid of people's thoughts, and that is the weakest that a person can become. Where you're afraid of a person's perception, not even what they will do, just what will they think? What will they think? So a person should have a level of confidence in their religion. Confidence, but not force. There's a big difference between confidence and force. Yes, confidence is that in your workplace, you say, for example, your lunch break. If somebody says, "Oh, come out, I'm going to go and pray." No, yeah, just pop off, do something. Say you're going to go pray. Force it in the middle of the office, Allah, in front of it. There's a big difference between the two of them. Now, so I hope that's clear. Unless there is a pressing question, is there a pressing question? Or a question? That's quite loaded. No. Any questions? Yes. Go.
Quite a related one that you said. So how you said that you kind of not judge the kind of person, like both ways, where they're dealing with other people as long as their relationship is not.
No.
Now some people I don't know, they do acts of obedience somehow in private.
Right.
How do you go around?
Now, so there is a minimum that is done in front of people. Yes. Does the person pray? There's no such thing because prayer, essentially, in principle, should be prayed in the masjid for men. Do they pray for more? There are things that are obvious. Yes. What does he work as? Or he's a bouncer in a pub. No, so that's obvious, isn't it? And then there is what a person can do privately, and there's no maximum to that. There's no maximum to that. There's a minimum that a person should do there is a maximum that a person should do public. Minimum and a maximum. Okay? And then in private, there is no maximum a person can do. But that what you do in private is all nafil anyway. You can't do a farz in private. Zakah has to be paid publicly. Because if you, for example, one of the meanings of وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ, and as for the blessings of your Lord, then hadith, speak of them. Speak means let it be known. Because how will the poor know to come to you, to ask you, if they don't know that you're rich? And that's why the rich people, a rich person, there are ulama who say that if a rich person drives a bad car, then that's haram. Some say makruh or haram because they do so to escape and evade the eyes of the poor who would come and ask them. It's evasive, right? It's not done out of humility. That's nonsense. Because if it's done out of humility, they would be given the poor anyway. And then they drive like a bad car. Okay? And they're driving a bad car, so poor people don't know that they're rich, so that they don't go and ask them. So zakat is in public. You can only do hajj publicly, right? I mean, how do you do a private hajj? Okay? Because men and women can't wear the club in hajj, right? So no, everyone will know that you're there. Okay? And Jum'ah and the Shahada, of course, that's the most public person can do, and fasting. طيب, we'll conclude there inshallah for Salat al-Maghrib, and we'll reconvene after some short مسنون أذكار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين. It's Osman. رسول الله. Yeah, so we usually, or during the summer months, we've had the dhikr between Asr and Maghrib, but recently because the days getting shorter now, so we will commence inshallah with the group dhikr. So inshallah, we will switch the lights off to aid with concentration. So if anybody has within their children, just to hold them now, inshallah, so as not to disturb the brothers and sisters. And the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the medicine of the heart and the fuel of mujahada. To reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure and closeness, one must exert effort. And that effort is fueled by the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and with it the heart feeling peace. And these gatherings, the angels roam the earth searching for such gatherings in which people have gathered together to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and everyone in presence is rewarded, and even a person who is not from them and only walks past them is also forgiven uh, by mere association through proximity only, just subhanallah, just uh, by geographic association. So just some basic etiquettes, inshallah, which is that one should take their some basic etiquettes, which is that a person should follow the lead and not raise their voice above them. And if everyone also, if you don't know the dhikr, you can look at the PDF which has been shared on the announcement group. And if you do know the dhikr, inshallah, then you can leave your phone temporarily, inshallah. And a person should observe what we are taught are the three keys that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, He is seeing me, and He is hearing me. The PDF has been shared again on the announcement group, so please do download it, inshallah. And the mind will wander, so bring back the three keys. Allah is with me, Allah is seeing me, Allah is hearing me. And as we said, this is allowed, so raise your voices, inshallah, and imagine the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in bright white light above our heads. And that light is shining down, entering one's mind and entering one's heart, inshallah, and spreading throughout one's body, and the body is remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with everything around it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين، إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم، لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم، له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض، من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه، يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم، ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء، وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض، ولا يئوده وهو العلي العظيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين. محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين والفريقين من عرب ومن عجم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. هو الحبيب الذي ترجى شفاعته. هو الحبيب الذي ترجى شفاعته لكل هول من الأهوال مقتحم. لكل هول من الأهوال مقتحم. مولاي يا صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله 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 أول وآخر يا الله ظاهر وباطن يا الله أول وآخر يا الله ظاهر وباطن يا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا مقصود إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا مقصود إلا الله لا مقصود إلا الله 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 لا معبود إلا الله لا معبود إلا الله لا معبود إلا الله لا معبود إلا الله حسبي ربي جل الله ما في قلبي غير الله حسبي ربي جل الله ما في قلبي غير الله نور محمد صلى الله لا إله إلا الله نور محمد صلى الله لا إله إلا الله 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 أنت المولى أنت الحق ليس المولى إلا هو أنت المولى أنت الحق ليس المولى إلا هو الله 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 أنت الهادي أنت الحق ليس الهادي إلا هو أنت الهادي أنت الحق ليس إلا هو الله 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 أنت الناصر أنت الحق ليس الناصر إلا هو أنت الناصر أنت الحق ليس الناصر إلا هو الله 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 لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله أستغفر الله أستغفر الله أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه صلى الله محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على 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 محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد ذو الجلال والإكرام ذو الجلال والإكرام ذو الجلال والإكرام ذو الجلال والإكرام وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد ذو الجلال والإكرام ذو الجلال والإكرام ذو الجلال والإكرام الله اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم يا رب الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك ونعمة سلطانك يا رب يا رب لك الحمد حتى ترضى ولك الحمد إذا رضيت ولك الحمد بعد الرضا يا رب الحمد أبدا أبدا صل وسلم وبارك وأتم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا ربنا تقبل منا أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم يا رب بجاه سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اجمع بيننا وبين سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله في الدنيا قبل الآخرة في الدنيا قبل الآخرة في الدنيا قبل الآخرة اللهم يا رب العالمين يا أرحم الراحمين يا أكرم الأكرمين يا رب العالمين accept from us this victory يا رب العالمين accept from us this gathering يا رب العالمين make the words that we spoken and we heard يا رب العالمين beneficial to us يا رب العالمين and life changing يا رب العالمين and guide us to you to your pleasure and to your closeness يا رب العالمين يا رب Ya Rabbana, bless all of the companions, Ya Rabbal Alameen. You are pleased with them, Ya Rabbal Alameen. And we seek your pleasure too, Ya Rabbal Alameen. We seek your pleasure, Ya Rabbal Alameen. We seek your pleasure. So we ask you, Ya Rabbal Alameen, for your pleasure and for your closeness, Ya Rabbal Alameen, and the pleasure and the closeness of your Messenger, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Ya Rabbal Alameen, all of us, Ya Rabbal Alameen, are, are full of faults, Ya Rabbal Alameen, sins, Ya Rabbal Alameen, but there are no sins that are too great for you to forgive, Ya Rabbal Alameen. No faults too great for you to correct, Ya Rabbal Alameen. No deficiencies, Ya Rabbal Alameen, too great for you to mend, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen, mend our hearts and mend our minds, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Mend our bodies, Ya Rabbal Alameen, and mend our nufus, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen, allow us to follow an example of Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. Ya Rabbil Alameen, make us go from sinners to saints, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, accept from us our good deeds, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and bless us, Ya Rabbil Alameen, in all of our endeavors. Ya Rabbil Alameen, grant shifa to all those who are unwell, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Today there are people who could not join us in this gathering, Ya Rabbil Alameen, because they are unwell. Ya Rabbil Alameen, grant them شفاء كاملا تاما عاجلا لا يغادر سقما ولا ألما يا رب العالمين. Ya Rabbil Alameen, bless all of the sisters, Ya Rabbil Alameen, who are pregnant here, and make their pregnancy easy for them, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, make their pregnancy easy, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and make their labor easy, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and grant them a righteous offspring, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Bless their health and bless their offspring's health, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and grant them prosperity, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Make their children the comfort of their eyes, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, there are Muslims every moment, Ya Rabbil Alameen, who leave this temporal abode, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Grant them forgiveness and maghfirah, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Grant them forgiveness and grant them, Ya Rabbil Alameen, mercy, Ya Rabbil Alameen, from your infinite mercy, Ya Rabbil Alameen. All the Muslims in their graves, Ya Rabbil Alameen, those whom we know and do not know, and those who all of mankind have forgotten, Ya Rabbil Alameen, but you know, Ya Rabbil Alameen, expand their grave, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and enlighten them, Ya Rabbil Alameen, with your divine light, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Grant us the company of the righteous in this life, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and resurrect us with them, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and with the prophets and the Sahaba and the Tabi'in and Tabi'at Tabi'in and Awliya Salihin, Ya Rabbil Alameen. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. So now, inshallah, we have around 10-15 minutes for a small study halaqa. As we mentioned, that this part of purification, the course of purification, is a structured one and is a methodical one, and one that we teach over here in this center, where if you want to begin and you want to be assigned a mentor who will help you through your spiritual purification, uh, and on this journey to the pleasure and the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can see myself, inshallah, be moving back to the table to answer any of your questions and to walk you and talk you through it, inshallah, very briefly. And if you're interested, inshallah, we can have an induction over a weekend, most likely online, unless there is a big enough number in London who are happy to meet in person, inshallah. So, we're missing our dearest and beloved brother Abdullah today. We can see his presence is missed. Uh, he would always bring the refreshments and set up and lead the dhikr. So we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him ease in all his